Hi everyone, my name is Mosana. I'm this year's president of NSBE McMaster. I'm also in my final year of the iBiomed program, specializing in the chemical engineering stream. Super excited for you guys to be here. We are doing a then and now video with the co-founder of NSBEMac, Tolu Falade.
Hi, my name is Tolu Falade, and I'm a chemical and bioengineering graduate from McMaster University. I'm also a co-founder of the NSBE McMaster Chapter, and now I'm a sustainability engineer at Avery Dennison.
Okay, you were one of the founders of NSBEMac. So what made you guys, decide to start that off and, found NSBEMac when you guys did?
So I think it was 2010. This was the year that Nesby, like the organization in the US, had their first national convention outside of the United States. So that happened to be in Toronto. My co-founder, Doane, she had a cousin who was a member. And for some reason, my dad as well, he went to school in the States, so he's an engineer. So he was like, oh, there's this engineering conference happening, you should get involved. So he's like, volunteer, just get involved and go to it. So my co-founder Doane and I was like, okay, well, let's go to this conference. So we showed up. We actually volunteered to like help out at some of the PCI events. And then it was just a gathering of like kids, Black engineers, from different parts of the US. It was very exciting. I think the energy in that space was just something phenomenal if you've ever had a chance to go to it. Mm-hmm. And when we left it at the end of those 3 days, we were so like energized. And we're like, we need this kind of energy at McMaster, because we haven't really, we didn't have any groups for like Black engineers. You had like Black cultural and like other groups in the space, but not engineers specifically. And so we said, you know what, we need to do this. So before the end of the conference, we had networked enough to get contacts of who would help us set it up. Mm-hmm. And yeah, the rest is history, because after that, we spent the summer setting up and, reaching out to faculty, and we had the chapter basically up and running by September after the convention in March. Yeah.
Impressive. No, that is incredibly impressive, especially because like there's so much that goes into creating a club and constitution and all that. So that's impressive. But even just speaking off like how you felt after the conference, like I can definitely like co-sign that, or say that was definitely a shared experience that like my year of kids also felt when we went to the last NSB convention conference in person in Detroit. So definitely I definitely get where you're coming from with that. So, yeah, that's awesome. And you said there was 2 of you who started it, right?
Yes, there was, I think 3 of us, but 2 of us were really active. It was Doane. So she was also in chemical engineering, but she was in management, and I was in bioeng. And so we both kind of really kind of spearheaded that.
That's incredible.
Setup. Yeah.
That's awesome.
So how has the university landscape changed for Black students, if at all?
That's a great question. I think for one, so when I started off in the iBiomed program, there was me and one other Black student in our cohort. And I remember being a little, observing that and being like, oh, because I'm from Toronto, like a very diverse high school, there's people from all backgrounds. But what I noticed, with the years under me and the years to follow, there were more and more Black students, underrepresented students that were enrolled specifically in the iBiomed program, and even in engineering 1 as a whole. And so that's definitely something that I noticed changed. And I think that even speaking to the younger cohort, so year below me, 2 years below me, listening to their experience in first year, kind of the camaraderie that they had with one another, and being in the same labs together and the classes together, being that there was enough of them, definitely has been something that has made me feel happy and excited for them to hear. And also it makes NSBEMac better in the sense that we now have more students that are involved, future execs to carry over the team and continue what you guys started. And so, yeah, I definitely think for my year and then the year under me and 2 years under me, there's been a pretty big, I would say, change for us Black students in engineering.
Yeah, no, that's great to hear. I echo similar. I think I was the only one in my chem and bio eng cohort
Yeah.
think of 25. So I'm glad to see that that's started to change, or it has changed significantly.
Okay, next question. What were some of the goals that you guys had when starting NSBEMac? And when you guys were president, what were some of the goals that you guys had back then?
So when we formed the group, as I said, off the back of that convention, we were just like, we need a space for Black engineers to come together. At this point, we were in our like second year or third year or so. And so we knew like a lot of other classmates that had started the program, but either switched to a different program because they were finding it difficult, or, you know, just didn't have that sense of community. So we thought, you know, this would offer that option for those students, just having a space where, you know, you see people that look like you, who may share some of your struggles and who can support you wholeheartedly. And so that's kind of the goal we had, just having that community for Black engineers at McMaster, and just being able to offer the support for them to grow in a space that they would feel comfortable in. So that was what we wanted. That was the initial goal. And then I think once we had the group set up, the next step was, how do we provide leadership opportunities for those Black engineering students? Because in some cases, they may not want to join other activities on campus. So this would offer that opportunity to take on leadership roles and participate with engineering groups.
No, that's amazing. It's so like interesting to hear, like, you know, what your goals were at the beginning, and like our mission statement is still very much that. It's very similar to that like now, and obviously like you guys were the contributors to that mission statement, but like the goals are still, you know, they were, you know, over 10 years ago now. So that's really nice to hear. Also, like in terms of getting jobs, I feel like a huge thing is leadership experience. So it's really nice to hear that, you know, that was also something that was also being done back then and also now. So that's awesome.
So why did you decide to be president of Nesby?
This is a great question. You know, I never actually thought about becoming president of Nesby. Like I always was just involved as an exec in whatever form they would have me, because I was just really passionate about the things that we're doing. Like specifically, like what drew me to Nesby was the outreach work with our like the youth and working on our PCI stuff. That was something that really like spoke a lot to me, and it kind of was a larger platform for me to continue a lot of the work that I was doing in Toronto, what I started off doing in high school. And so, yeah, that's how I, you know, fell into Nesby. And then, you know, one thing led to another. I was vice president, and with Nesby fashion, the natural next step is to become president if you are open to it, which I definitely was. And so that's how I truthfully ended up as president. Definitely a great experience. I would not trade it for anything. I think being the president has allowed me to, you know, instead of focusing on that outreach work that I loved, I now get to focus on other aspects, like helping our hunt coordinators plan the hunt, you know, working with our study sessions. And, you know, again, I still get to work on our, the weekend programs that we run. So we've done a lot of collabs with the Venture Academy, actually the McMaster youth, I guess it's like a camp, it's like a summer program, and they also have programs of the year. So Nesby, we've been able to collaborate with them as well. And so, yeah, that's my story as to how I became there, why I decided to become the president. Yeah.
That's great. That's great. I'm glad to see that, you know, you could channel your passion and like take on the leadership role to actually direct the strategy for the group. So that's great.
My next question. What are you most proud of that NSBEMac has accomplished up until this day?
Wow. 10 years basically since 2010. I think the fact that the group is still active is probably the biggest kudos to you guys for keeping it going, because I know how hard it is to have that succession planning. They have the same issues in corporate, so it's the same as well. So the fact that the group is still active is definitely a really proud moment for me. And the fact that it has grown as well. So it hasn't stayed stagnant, it's stayed active and it has grown. And then also like the scholarship, that absolutely blew my mind away, because you guys are leaving, like we're leaving a lasting impact on McMaster University, not just Mac Eng, but like McMaster University as a whole. And so, you know, they basically, everything you guys have done so far has surpassed anything we thought of when we were building like this small community for Black students. So, it's definitely providing numerous opportunities for students to be leaders, not just through the participation in the groups, but just even the alumni network. As you can see, like, they continue to make strides that really make me so proud to say they were members of NSBEMac. So yeah.
No, definitely, like, leading off McMaster better off than it was when we started or when you started is definitely a huge thing to accomplish. And I feel like not a lot of students get to do that, especially like as a student. You're busy with your own life and getting your own career started up or set up. That, yeah, to be able to do that outside of that that's really cool. It's really nice.
Yeah. So what are some of your goals for Nesby this year?
That's a great question. So we're February 1st today. Yeah. So we're almost done the year. But I like to say that every president has kind of their goals and their flavor of how they want to run, that year of NSBEMac. I think for mine, it was to really continue, the great work that we've already had, and then hopefully expand the events that we do have right now. So for me, like, this was the hunt that's actually this upcoming weekend, shameless plug. It was our first year doing it online last year. And so my goal was to now this year, we're having it online again. And I really wanted to see if we could, expand the amount of NSBEMac students that not NSBEMac, but Nesby students that we had from the other chapters. So like you have TU Ryerson, and I really wanted to work on, really, we already do have a relationship with them, but really working on like making that stronger, and collabing, with them as well, so that they're also at these events too. Another big thing for me this year was to not close, but hopefully have so we have a scholarship fund. So I wanted to bring us closer to that endowment of the final value, which is $62,000, and we're about halfway through. So I kind of wanted to, put a pretty good dent in making it a little bit closer to the end. But yeah, that was my thing. That was what I really wanted to focus on this year. So yeah.
That's great. No, that's awesome. And I'm glad to hear, like, we're looking at more collaboration with the other NSB chapters in Canada. So that's great.
So the next question I have is, what are you doing now?
So currently, I work at Avery Dennison. Avery Dennison is a global material supplier. They supply labeling solutions to different industries. So you're thinking consumer packaged goods, foods, wineries, beverages, as well as apparel and the healthcare industry. I work specifically in the retail branding and information solution division of Avery Dennison, and our mandate really is supplying labeling solutions to footwear and apparel industry users. And so I work as a sustainability project engineer for our global RBIS business, supporting all our sustainability initiatives, our sustainability goals. Right now we have our 2030 goals, which is our top priority. And my mandate at this point is helping us manage our Scope 3 greenhouse gas emissions. So the strategy building around that, as well as making sure we have a plan of action to reach those goals, which is a 30% reduction in Scope 3 by 2030. So it's a long-term project, long-term ambition, but it's definitely something that's very important, not just to our company, but also even to investors, as well as like the earth at large, right? So because we're not scaling back our emissions with the way things are going. So we all need to take a step. We need to make action. And yeah, I'm really proud to be able to support not just, making the business money, but doing it in a sustainable, which involves both environmental, social, and governance way.
Which is incredibly important. That's amazing. Yeah, no, that's great. And do you have any advice maybe for people who want to pursue that similar path, or be where you're sitting right now in your career?
I would say my advice, honestly, if you want to get involved in sustainability, is honestly just get in. I don't think there are lots of informal and some formal training on environmental or sustainability, but just get involved even in your local, like most cities at this point have some form of sustainability agenda or sustainability plan. So getting involved, either volunteering or interning or any of that, will really get your toes dip in it. And with that, you can really go anywhere from there. So that's my advice to anyone that wants to get into sustainability. It's a hot topic right now, and yeah, so get in. We need more people to
yeah. No, that's amazing. I mean, I feel like it needs to happen, right? It's like, I'm really happy that we're like, companies are becoming, more proactive about having these conversations and actually actively working, towards improving, their emissions and their outputs. And so that's awesome to hear. You guys heard it here first. Well, that's how you end up, or that's how you hopefully end up where Tolu is. Okay, awesome.
So why is the Nesby scholarship important, and how can people support this fund?
This is a great question. I think the Nesby scholarship is great for so many reasons. For one, the obvious, it provides that financial support for students and really gets them encouraged and thinking about, applying to engineering here at McMaster University. But another thing that I think is really key with this scholarship is that I think it speaks to the culture here. And I think, that is a very big factor in terms of where you choose to go to university as a grade 12 student. It's one thing that you look at the academics, but you also want to look at the student culture and, you want to feel like this is a place that I feel like I can fit in. And I think the scholarship does a great job at, really showing Black students who are in high school that, McMaster University, McMaster Engineering is the place for you. I think also the scholarship does a great job at, showing what Nesby is about, what our mission statement is. I think it's what I like to call the missing puzzle piece in our mission statement. We do a lot of the pre-work at the high school level. We do a lot of the development in university. So whether that's academically and, helping them get co-ops and full-time positions, but what's that bridge that takes students from high school to university, having them actually go ahead and apply. And so I think the scholarship does that. Yeah, I think it does many things, but those are just the few. But yeah.
That's a great point. I love that you mentioned that it's that bridge and that missing piece in like the pre-collegiate work as well as, the ongoing support. So that's awesome. That's absolutely awesome.
The last question I have is, how have you applied your experience from Nesby and McMaster to your career and life now?
Well, I would say like the experience I had, even just setting up NSBEMac with my co-founder, gave me a sense of courage. It wasn't something done before. Like I think at that point, the discussion on like, being a Black person or being of any other ethnic group was not something that was common or, discussed often. So like recognizing that need, finding the network and the resources we needed to actually make it come to life and executing on it is something I continue to leverage. They say once you do something, you can do it again. So, I find that when I'm faced with a challenge, if it's a topic I don't know anything about, I channel that tenacity that I've had once, and then that I've gained basically while as a student in McMaster and setting up Nesby, and then I just, I go forth. So in a way, it's like the working world hasn't really changed from what I was when I was a student. You still get challenged, you still get new topics that, you don't have the experience on. And so for me, it's like finding a community, which is super key in when you're doing something, and then finding opportunities and then just taking that lead and finding the solution just is what I find has continued to serve me well. So that's super like helpful right now as I lead scope 3, extending my network, because everyone has the same problem, or you'd be surprised, like your problem is not unique to you. So, find the network, find the community where you can leverage their strengths and then use that to help you solve your problem. So that's something I continue to use every day.
That's amazing. Yeah, no, that's great.
What legacy do you hope to leave at McMaster? And what do you hope the future looks like for NSBEMac?
Well, that is a good question. What legacy do I hope to leave at Mac? Someone said this to me last year, and like I have not been able to shake it out of my head. And it's this concept of being able to leave any room or any place that you walk into better than it was when you started. And I think I kind of alluded to this earlier when we were talking, when you were answering your questions, but whatever that looks like, whether it's the scholarship, whether it's what we're able to accomplish this year with NSBEMac, or my time, I've been on NSBEMac for the last 3 years, but whatever it is, I think that that's the goal. That's the legacy that I want to leave here. And yeah, I want NSBEMac to, continue growing. And, you mentioned earlier as well that you're really proud of the fact that NSBEMac is still around and that we're, growing, and we continue to, live out the things that your goals from 10 years ago, over 10 years ago. But I think continuing to kind of foster that environment with those younger Black engineering students, really showing them that this is you're next up, you're the one that's going to continue this on, and really being there to support them, and, being maybe like an older mentor, like just someone there to, really show them the ropes, I think is really key or really important to me and how I want to be remembered here at McMaster. So to answer the second part of that question, what do I hope the future looks like for NSBEMac? Hopefully a scholarship fund that is completed, that's the endowment fund has been secured. I think that is definitely top of my list. And then also continued growth. You can never have too much growth, and so just seeing more and more students enroll in first year, having more students work as execs or be members, actively involved, I think that's exactly what I hope the future for NSBEMac looks like.